I'm just going to wait for some people to join. My name is Sonia. In case you guys don't know me, I am the reigning Royal International Miss India Junior Teen, and welcome to the 8th episode of the 2nd season of Inspire, Unite, Motivate, a show that I started with the goal of inspiring everybody to create positive change in society, uniting all of the change makers of this world, and motivating everyone of all ages to make a difference. So I see our special guest has joined. Hello, hello. I sent you an invitation to join, so you should be able to click that and go live with me. I think we may be having some technical issues. Do you see the invite? Or maybe you can request to join again. I didn't receive your request on this end. Oh. I think we're having some technical issues. Oh, that should work.
Oh, there we go. Hi.
Hi, Ava. Thank you so much for joining us today on Inspire, Unite, Motivate. It's so great to have this chance to talk with you. So for some of the audience members that might not know you, do you want to just start by introducing yourself?
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm Ava Folvarcik, and I'm your USA Ambassador Preteen.
All right, Ava. So today we're here to talk about all things community service and platform related. So now can you just go ahead and talk a little bit about your platform and what it is?
Yeah, so my platform is called Play It Forward, and it is where I donate sports equipment to children in need who may not have the accessibility to sports equipment. It really started from my love of sports way back when I was very little. As you probably know, I'm very athletic, and I love basketball, volleyball, cross country, taekwondo, and track. So that really inspired me because I wanted other people to know what it felt like to touch a basketball and know that same joy that I had when I was little.
That is amazing. I absolutely love that. And a little bit on a different note, but you mentioned you play so many sports. So do you have a favorite? And if you do, why is that sport your favorite?
That's really hard, but I would say my two main sports are basketball and volleyball. And I think I like basketball a little more since we are entering basketball season. And I'm actually on the varsity basketball team. And also, I've been playing basketball since I was like 3 years old, like a long time ago. But yeah, I think that one probably is my favorite because it is a team sport. You have to work together to get that ball up in the hoop and score some points.
That's awesome. And one of our values here at Inspire, Unite, Motivate is unity. So I love that with sports and with your platform, it really encourages people to work together because we are so much more powerful working together than divided as individuals. So I absolutely love that sports encourages that. I'm actually a dancer, so unity and working together is a really big part of that as well. So I can completely relate to what you are saying because if one person, cannot do their part, then the entire dance messes up. So
Yes.
working together and understanding each other is a key part of that and really teaches you a lot about yourself. And on that note, what has your journey with your different sports been like and what has it taught you?
It has taught me, as you said, to definitely work with one another and to trust each other. With volleyball, you definitely have to trust each other because you're all on this compact space and you have 6 players on the court. So you need to trust each other. If it goes over your head, that the other person will be there to help you. And that is one thing that I really love about sports, is how you can have other people and rely on them as a person.
I love that.
Yeah.
So, steering a little bit towards your platform, when did you start your platform and why that around that specific time?
It was about 3 years ago, near COVID-19. And during that time, it really taught me that a lot of people were struggling. And that really opened my eyes to people needing help, and for me to help them and actually make an impact in others. So I wanted to be a little unique and use my love for sports and community service to make my platform Play It Forward, so that other people can maybe have that something to take their mind off of COVID-19 and to really have the enjoyment of sports.
I absolutely love and relate with that because I think that COVID-19 truly did open so many people's eyes to the world around them. For me, and in that time, I was in 6th grade and I had just moved to North Carolina, and that was a really life-changing time for me as well. And that's actually when personally I started getting into community service. And like you said, it really just, I wanted to make a difference. I saw all this suffering around me and I thought to myself, what can I do to make it better? So that's when my own community service initiatives started. So I love that we have that connection.
Yes.
Since we are both still in school, I'm in high school and I think you're in middle school,
Yeah,
right?
7th grade.
What do you think it's important to encourage student athletes in particular, or athletes from a young age?
Well, I just transitioned into a new school, and I think it's very important to find that passion to help get you through that transition. And even if you're not going through a new school, I know that the transition from an elementary to middle school or even high school is very hard for on people. So finding that passion that you love, such as me for sports, or maybe some people are interested in theater, having that love to really strive to go for that and get on the team is amazing, and that really helps with coping with moving.
I completely agree with that because I moved to North Carolina, like I mentioned, in 6th grade. So transitioning to a new state, transitioning to middle school was obviously a very big change. But joining my dance class really gave me a sense of community before I even stepped into a physical building. So coming back to that concept of unity and working together, it gives you a great community to lean back on for support. So I absolutely love that. So obviously everyone is not involved in sports. So for people who might not be as aware of it, like kids or adults, do you have any tips for them to support student athletes they may know or are in their family?
I would say that everybody starts somewhere. Like me, I started way when I was little, and I worked all the way up to now 13 years old. But I would say that just keep working hard and keep trying your best at everything, because there may not be people that are better than you and there may be people that are less than you. But that doesn't change the fact that you are your own person and that you have your own uniqueness. So I definitely think that you should keep that in mind whenever you step on a court, whenever you strive to be your best.
Definitely. Everybody is on their own journey. And I know that especially being teenagers or in middle or high school, a lot of comparison tends to happen where you're like, oh my God, she's doing this better. Oh my God, like, why can't I do that? But it's really important to realize that you're on your own journey. And I'm sure that person who has mastered that skill was there once before, because like I said, when I said I was a dancer, like one of the most famous moves in ballet is the pirouette where you're spinning
Oh,
around
yeah.
dogs. And when I was learning how to do a pirouette, I could not do it right the first time. But a lot of more experienced dancers around me were doing it so quickly, so fast. And for me, I was so insecure at first, but I realized that I was on my own journey and now I can do it. So I love that you brought that up. And a little bit on that note, do you have a favorite memory with your platform or your sport that really stands out or taught you something?
Yes, well, going back to my platform, Play It Forward, I was in the Ronald McDonald House in Orlando, Florida, and this was like a year ago, but I went there and I saw this gorgeous backyard, but it didn't have any sports equipment in it. So I talked to the director to see if I could donate some basketball, volleyballs, and just other sports equipment to there. And when I did, I saw these cute photos of the kids playing with them, and they had these big smiles on their faces. And that really reminded me of myself. And when I first touched basketball, I had this big smile on my face, and I knew that's what I wanted to do when I grew up. And that really, I saw myself in those kids.
That's so sweet. I'm a teacher's assistant at my dance studio, and I completely relate with what you're saying because I can truly see myself in those kids. Because when I was young and I was their age, I was like 5 or 6 years old, I would also have the TA helping me out. So I really love how everything just comes full circle and you're able to do that for the people in your community. So obviously you play a lot of sports other than the sense of togetherness, the sense of community, what are some other benefits to playing a sport or multiple sports in your case?
It definitely, for me, as I said with school, it gets my mind off of things. You get to enter this different world where you can just be yourself and not care about what other people think with comparison and your school homework that you have to finish. But you get to actually do something that you enjoy and have something that you love and have that alone time with yourself. And that really is something that I do at the end of a school day is rewind, take it down, and calm.
I love that because I just entered high school, and I think a lot of the times with the busy schedules that people have, it is so easy to get carried away with that, to not find time for yourself. So having that balance is so important. And you being in seventh grade and doing so many amazing things, one question I have is, do you have any tips for time management with sports, community service, and also balancing your academics? And how do you do it yourself?
I definitely think all those stuff is important, all of those community service. But community service is one thing that I really is on my top, is the top thing I strive for. At my school, we actually have community service that we have to do by the end of the quarter. And something that I see in kids is that they look at community service as a chore and not really as something that you should be enjoyed by. And that is something that I really want to do, is having people understand that community service can be fun and be heartwarming. But going back to the time management, I think that it's important to also have academics and your extracurriculars right behind community service, because those both are very important to your career paths. And that is something that I think is really good. And what I do is I do school first, and then I go to my extracurriculars after school and just rewind and, as I said, calm down for the day and just make my brain relax.
I totally relate with that because, like you said, time management can get hard balancing your extracurriculars. And a lot of the times, like you said, I saw kids around me who see community service as a chore. So I was in the National Junior Honor Society, NJHS, when I was in eighth grade. And much like your school, we had mandatory community service that we would have to get in by the end of a quarter in the school. And so many kids around me would be groaning, they would be complaining, and they would be like, oh, I don't know how I'm going to do this, and see it as a chore. But once they started realizing that they could find opportunities outside of school, I think that that's when they really realized that their passions could align with community service, and you saw that increase in hours, and that just led to so much more impact on the community. And a little bit on that note, do you have any tips for people who are struggling with finding opportunities for community service? Because getting into community service at the start can feel like a very daunting task. People sometimes don't even know where to start. So do you have any tips for that? And what was your start or journey into community service like?
I would definitely say, going along with the passions, do something that you would feel comfortable with. Like with me with sports, I started with a small community in a small organization in my community called Embrace. And I actually started there, and I donated used bicycles in my garage, and I used my love of sports to donate that to others. So I definitely say everybody starts somewhere. So find your passion and what you really love to start there first, and then keep working up and moving forward from there.
That's some pretty solid advice. And that you started with places that you knew. I know that for me, even like I mentioned with my TAing, being a teacher's assistant, I started with the dance studio that I go to. So those can be some really great places. And you mentioned that you donated things, and I also saw that you collect equipment. So what kinds of equipment do you collect through your initiative?
I collect all sports equipment, basketball, volleyballs, all that stuff. And I think it's important to have all different varieties of sports equipment so kids can try every single one and see which one is their absolute favorite. Just with me and basketball, I thought that basketball was my favorite and I chose basketball. So I definitely think that having a different variety of everything and donating that to other children so that they can find their passions is very important.
I love that. And I think it's awesome that you're able to support so many different sports, because I've seen that a lot of the times people sometimes feel limited to one thing. They think that, okay, this is what I've chosen, this is what I have to stick to. So making sure that you realize that you have this variety and you can support a variety of things, I think is so important. And I love that you incorporate that into your platform. So what are some organizations that you're able to donate your equipment to, and how are you able to forge a partnership with these organizations? Because I know that when I started doing community service, I realized at one point that I wanted to take it further. I wanted to have my own initiative, make connections with people, but that can be a little bit harder than it sounds. So how are you able to reach out to these organizations, donate equipment there, and what tips do you have for people who are really trying to break in and start their own initiative or nonprofit?
This is so funny to me because with my basketball journey, when I very first started, there was a league called CCA, Celebration Community Athletics. And not only do they teach others about Christ, but also they have a mission to help others. And this is so funny because that's where I started when I was very little. And growing up and going up till now, last year I actually donated a bicycle and other basketballs there. And with that, now I'm actually starting a scholarship program with them and partnering with them to get other people who may not have the fundings to do the CCA and have the fall league, that they can actually use that scholarship program so that they can participate in sports of their choosing.
That's absolutely incredible. I love that you're continuing to grow with your platform, because I think growth is just as important as developing or starting your platform. So I love that you're able to do that and grow with your initiative. So like you said, I think some really solid advice is starting with places that you know. And sometimes those places can be so within reach and people are just nervous to reach out. I know that with my own school, there were so many opportunities with, reaching out to people within your school, but people would be scared or think, will they respond? So a little bit on that note, how do you find the confidence to keep going, to keep making those connections and to keep reaching out to people? And what tips do you have for people who might be doubting themselves or be hearing a lot of no's from people?
I think it's very important for people to get involved in their community and help others, because I know myself have been very fortunate and I know other people have may not, and I acknowledge that. So I think that people, in my one mission throughout my reign, is to allow other people in Florida to know about what community service really is. Because as I said before, people might think that's a chore and something that you're made to do, but people can look at it as something enjoyable and actually heartwarming. So that's something that I really inspire and thrive to do. And I think my tip for people who are struggling and who really think, oh, well, community service is bad, is to just try it out for the first time. Just try it. See something really small in your community, and if you like it and if you really want to pursue doing that, then do it and help others.
That's awesome, because that's exactly what this show strives to do as well. With Inspire, Unite, Motivate, my main goal with creating it was showing people what community service was really about by inviting people like you, because it helps people realize that, we can make a difference. Oftentimes, youth really think that, oh, I'm just so and so years old, like me doing a couple hours of service is not going to do anything. But if you have the right growth mindset, then you can do anything. So I love that we have that shared mission. So something I mentioned before is feeling restricted to one cause or the platform that you select, but obviously we know that that's not the case. And even though you have your own platform, you can obviously go out and support so many other causes. So what are some other organizations and causes that you support that not necessarily tie into your platform?
There is one that I'm actually going to tomorrow called Tunnels to Towers. It is where firefighters actually cross up stairwells in honor of 9/11 and their flights. And that is what I really want. That is what I'm doing tomorrow, is I'm handing out medals for the firefighters who have completed it. And that's something that I really was branching out to from Play It Forward, is trying something new. And that is something that I want youth to understand, is that you can try new things. You don't have to feel restricted to one singular thing like Play It Forward. You can try new things and do stuff out of your comfort zone.
Stepping out of your comfort zone is truly so important because it helps you develop that growth mindset and it really helps you grow as a person. So I completely agree with what you're saying. For me, I joined a youth volunteer group known as Cary Teen Council, and they not necessarily have projects that relate to my initiative in particular, but they have so many amazing causes going on. Like, I got exposed to new cultures. I was able to go and volunteer for the environment and pick up trash, and it really just helped me realize that, I don't have to be restricted to what my platform is, and I can go out and make a difference still while being involved with other causes. So I really love that. And moving a little bit into USA Ambassador, which is the system that you represent, how has the system been able to support you in your various community service efforts?
It has been amazing so far throughout my reign, and USA Ambassador have this very amazing motto called SLICK, Success Through Leadership, Integrity, Character, and Confidence. And I actually look up to that motto every single day while I'm trying to do sports or other community service activities while I'm using USA Ambassador. And I definitely think that character is such a great motto to have, because you are your own different, unique person. And having that character and having everybody from all different cultures, diversities, is such an amazing thing that people underestimate today, is that everybody's different in their own unique way.
I absolutely agree with that message. I think diversity, a lot of people don't realize how important it is, simply because not a lot of people are aware of its importance and its presence in the world today. So really being aware of that at a young age, I'm really happy that young people like us are becoming aware of that. And a little bit connecting it back to your own platform, why do you think having that kind of equality and diversity in sports and other different activities like community service is important?
Well, I myself has dealt with stereotyping through sports before. I am doing a co-ed league, and usually there's mostly boy-dominated, because people think that basketball is a boy-dominated sport. But what I have learned is that you can be a girl or a boy and do whatever passion you want to pursue. And I have dealt with a funny experience that I have dealt with stereotyping is I was at a basketball game, and I was the only girl on the court. But when they saw me get the ball and they saw me dribble to the hoop and score, they knew that I was a competitor and that I was just as good as they are, and that my gender does not define me as a person, and I can be just as good as boys are. So that is something that I definitely look up to, is that you are just as important as anybody else.
Wow, that is such an amazing story. And the funny thing is, like, when I was in, I think, fourth grade, we dealt with something similar where all of the basketball courts would immediately be taken by the boys, and the teachers never really said anything because of what you said with the stereotype that, all that sporty stuff is mainly for boys or boy dominated. And I think that it's really important that we as a community start to break those stereotypes and people realize that sports are not limited to a certain gender or a certain group of people, and anybody can do what they want. So when all the girls finally stood up and they said, hey, we want to turn too, everybody was able to realize that basketball, or any sport for that matter, is for everybody. So I think that that is so important, and I love that you are breaking those stereotypes yourself as well. So moving back to the USA Ambassador system, of course the system has been so supportive with your efforts, but how have your sister queens been able to support you as well, and how have you been able to support their efforts?
That's amazing, because recently I went to Kentucky and there was a USA Ambassador state pageant there. So while there, I was doing this fundraiser where I collected sports equipment from not only the contestants, but also my sister queens. And that was something that I really loved to do, because I got it out of just being in Florida and doing community service in Florida, and actually branching out and doing other community service in other states. So the sports equipment I collected there, I went to the Ronald McDonald House in Kentucky, and I actually donated the sports equipment there to the kids living there. And it was super great because I felt so happy to branch out, as I said, and to be inclusive to not only in Florida, but also in Kentucky.
Yeah, pageantry really gives you the chance to go to so many different places and make an impact around the US. I think without pageantry, it was a big factor in helping me realize that I could branch out and, you're in Florida right now, I'm in North Carolina, but we're still having this conversation. And I've been able to talk with people all across the country and going to national pageants even. There's always some sort of service initiative going on where you see people from different states coming together to make that impact, even though it might not be their home state. So I love the fact that pageantry is able to give us that chance to really branch out. So I absolutely love that for you. And moving a little bit into having a social media presence, social media is obviously a little bit controversial, especially being teenagers, because it can be the source of comparison, but it can also be super, super helpful. So being a preteen, what are your tips for maintaining a good social media presence while also having that healthy balance between social media and other extracurriculars you might be in?
I would say stay positive. Don't look at somebody on Instagram and say, oh, well, I don't have this and this. But as I said before, you are unique, and that you should think about the things that makes you unique, such as me and basketball, and you and your dance and ballet. That's just amazing. And having that differences really unites us as people, and that we all have uniqueness. And I really think that social media branches out to other people across the world, because people can just pop in a name, USA Ambassador Preteen, and then find me and find my platform, find what I've helped with, and find a little bit about me. So I think that's very important for new generations to have.
Absolutely. Without social media, this show wouldn't exist, and maybe it would be a lot harder for me to connect with people. So I think that something that you said is so important, that social media it makes you able to form those connections and to form those partnerships. And as we move into a more digital technology-based age with the future generations, I think that is so important, having those connections with different kinds of people, because going back to the whole diversity thing we were talking about, it also helps people branch out and meet new types of people. And that diversity and unity is so important, especially in today's world. So I absolutely love that. So your platform is so amazing, and you've highlighted so many amazing different things you do with it. So if somebody wanted to help out with your platform, how could they do so?
That's so funny that you asked, because we are in the making of making my own account for Play It Forward, where people can look about what my account is, find how many states I've already been to, and really follow along with my journey. So we are going to make this fund platform on Play It Forward, and where people can donate no matter where they are in the US, across the world. No matter where they are, they can help my foundation and my platform.
That is incredible. Everybody who's watching right now live, or maybe watching the replay, make sure to go check that out when it does exist or come into creation, because that is amazing. Being able to share what you're doing with the world is one of the best parts of community service, because you're able to say, hey, this is the impact I've been able to create as a result of what I'm doing, and this is how you can help. So that just goes back to the whole connections thing, that social media really helps you make those connections.
Yeah.
Those are all of the questions I had for you today. Thank you so much for coming on to this show. It has been an honor having you here, and you're doing so many amazing things.
Thank you, Sonia. I'm really happy that we got to have this little chat, and I got to express to you what my platform is, and you tell me a little bit about yourself, and I've learned a lot of new things.
Same here, and I'm sure our audience has as well. So it's been absolutely amazing being able to connect on here and have this conversation.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, thank you for coming. Have a great rest of your day.
You too. Thank you.
Of course.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much to everybody for joining us for this episode today. Be sure to stay tuned because I'll be announcing who our next special guest on the show will be shortly. And if you want to be featured on the show to talk about your own community service efforts or any organization that you've created or anything community service related that you're doing, be sure to DM me and I would be happy to have you on the show. Bye, everybody, and have a wonderful and blessed day.